welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're peeling back the layers on something that's, well, it's utterly fundamental to human existence.
Right.
But it's often cloaked in, mystery, ancient fear, and some really powerful rituals. Just imagine a world where, say, a totally natural bodily function could make you completely untouchable.
Yeah, set apart.
Or where eating certain foods wasn't just forbidden, but people actually believed it could invite, well, vengeful spirits right into you.
It's quite a concept.
So yeah, today we're plunging into the fascinating and, let's be honest, often bewildering world of blood taboos.
It really is a compelling journey we're starting on. It goes way back, deep into human history, but aspects of it persist even now.
Yeah.
And our mission here isn't just to list off these practices like checking boxes.
Yeah.
We want to actually try and understand the really deep-rooted beliefs that shape them in the first place.
Exactly. It's not just, ancient history for history's sake.
Not at all. It's about uncovering what drives human behavior, these hidden currents, across so many different cultures. It's surprisingly relevant.
Totally. And for this deep dive, we've pulled together a pretty rich stack of sources.
We have.
We're talking everything from, ancient religious texts that lay down these foundational laws to really meticulous anthropological observations, field notes, stuff like that.
Yeah, firsthand accounts.
And fascinating historical accounts that show how these beliefs actually played out in everyday life.
Right, the practical side.
Our goal, really, is to give you that shortcut, that clear path to understanding why these taboos popped up, how they managed to stick around for so long.
Right, what were they?
And what kind of surprising insights they offer us about, well, the human psyche, I guess.
Indeed. And if you really stop and think about it, blood, it's undeniably central to life, isn't it?
Absolutely.
It's visible, it's vital, it's warm, its loss means something huge, often death. It's the very picture of vitality.
Yeah, the essence.
So it just naturally becomes this incredibly powerful symbol. It's a focal point for reverence, for ritual, and, crucially for our discussion, for restriction.
Right, restriction.
It seems almost inevitable, really, that something that potent would get loaded with spiritual significance.
Absolutely. And when we talk about blood taboos, our deep dive today is going to focus on basically two major areas. They're often linked, actually. First, we'll dig into the really deep-seated taboos around menstruation. A natural biological process that across so many cultures got wrapped up in some powerful beliefs.
A huge area.
And second, we'll turn to the equally compelling rules, the prohibitions, around actually consuming blood itself.
Yeah, another fundamental one.
So before we get into the nitty-gritty, the examples, I want you, our listener, to maybe pause for a second. What assumptions do you have about these kinds of ancient or traditional beliefs?
Good question.
What do you think was behind these strict rules? Because honestly, as we're about to unpack, some of the realities are, well, they're day more surprising and much more deeply ingrained than you might ever guess.
Okay, so let's start this exploration by stepping back in time. We need to look at a practice that has just profoundly shaped human society for millennia.
Right.
And that's the whole mystique, the taboos tied to menstruation. This isn't just some, historical oddity.
No, it's a living history for many.
Exactly. It's a living tradition, especially visible if you look at its biblical roots and how it's still practiced today in Orthodox Judaism.
It's truly foundational. And what's really striking is how just one relatively short biblical verse can trigger this incredibly detailed, impactful system of practices that's lasted thousands of years.
It's amazing.
Our sources point us straight to Leviticus 18.19. It's a command, pretty unequivocal.
Yep.
Do not approach a woman during her period of ritual impurity to have sexual relations.
Just like that.
And that single sentence, it basically lays the groundwork for this whole comprehensive system of separation and eventually purification.
And the implications of that one verse are huge, especially when you look at how it plays out in daily life.
Yeah.
For Orthodox Jewish women, our sources explain they're considered to be in a state of niddah. That's the term for this ritual impurity.
Okay.
For what adds up to, get this, more than a third of their fertile lives.
More than a third. That's staggering.
It is. It's not a minor thing. It's a huge chunk of their adult lives governed by these rules, and it deeply shapes their marriage, their interactions within the community.
I can only imagine. And the length of that separation, the strictness, it's pretty intense.
Right.
We're talking about an impurity that lasts for at least 11 days after the emission of the first drop of menstrual blood.
At least 11 days, minimum.
Right, and the strictness, especially among the ultra-Orthodox, is really something. A woman in 𝗀𝗃, the sources say, cannot be touched or even looked at by her husband.
Wow, no touching, no even looking.
Think about what that actually means for a marriage, for just living in the same house, where, physical closeness, even casual touch, is normal.
Yeah, it changes everything.
This isn't just about sex. It's a broader physical separation, sometimes even visual. It totally reframes the rhythm of married life. Natural cycles become these defining social, spiritual events in the home.
And the process to end this state, the purification ritual, it's very specific, meticulously structured.
Okay.
The rabbinic understanding, based on the sources, is that menstruation itself is considered to last a minimum of 5 days.
5 days minimum. Okay, even if it's shorter physiologically.
Exactly. Regardless of the actual duration for that woman, that cycle, that sets the baseline.
Got it.
Then, after menstruation is considered over, the woman has to wait 7 additional clean days.
7 more days.
Right. And during this time, she has to carefully check herself, make sure there's absolutely no more bleeding, no discharge at all. She has to be completely free of it.
So it's the period plus this extra week of sort of observation.
Precisely. And the culmination, the actual purification, involves immersing in a mikveh.
The mikveh, I've heard of that, is not just a bath, right?
Not at all. It's a special ritual pool. It has to contain natural living water, rainwater, spring water, sometimes connected to an underground source.
Okay, so it's specific water too.
Very specific. And on the evening after those 7 clean days are up, after she's bathed thoroughly and prepared herself, she goes to the mikveh and completely immerses herself.
Fully submerged.
Fully. It's seen as a kind of symbolic rebirth, a profound spiritual cleansing. Only after that immersion is she considered pure again.
And then?
Then she can resume full marital life, physical intimacy included, and participate fully in communal religious life again.
Wow. So what does this whole system, this intricate process, tell us about, the society, the relationships within these traditions?
Well, it's deeply insightful, I think. It clearly signifies a perception of menstruation as something incredibly powerful.
Powerful, maybe even dangerous.
Perhaps perceived as dangerous, or at least spiritually potent, in a way that requires careful management. It's not just about hygiene, obviously.
No, really not.
It's about a social state of impurity that demands these strict boundaries and then this very specific ritual to return to purity. The physical separation reinforces this idea that this natural process carries this inherent potency, maybe even a potential disruption, that society needs to contain or manage.
So it turns something private, biological, into this public, religiously defined cycle.
Exactly. It shapes interactions, roles, the whole fabric of family life. It defines periods of closeness and distance in a marriage. It might foster a certain kind of respect, maybe, but it definitely creates a unique pattern in that bond.
It really does. Now, here's something else that's fascinating, maybe even more surprising for us today, with our scientific understanding. Just how long menstruation remained a complete mystery, even in Western cultures that we think of as, embracing science early on.
Oh, absolutely. We tend to assume people figured out basic biology ages ago, but that's just not the case here.
Right.
And that lack of understanding allowed these ancient kinds of taboos and beliefs to hang on for a remarkably long time.
It's a real reminder of just how slow and, frankly, difficult the path to scientific understanding actually was.
Totally. Our sources point out that menstruation was basically a black box for centuries. Just think about this. The ovary.
Yeah.
Fundamental to the whole process, right?
Yeah.
It was only scientifically identified and described in 1827.
1827, that feels incredibly late.
It is. And the crucial connection, understanding the link between menstruation and the ovaries maturing, ovulation, that wasn't figured out until 1863.
1863. That's practically yesterday in historical terms.
Right, mid-19th century, less than 160 years ago. And even when these huge discoveries were made, our sources stress they took time to change established beliefs. It wasn't like flipping a switch.
No. Old ideas, especially ones tied up in culture and superstition, they die hard. The inertia must have been massive.
Immense. And we have some really almost unbelievable examples of just how persistent these beliefs were.
Like what?
Well, take 19th century France, a place we associate with the Enlightenment, science starting to bloom.
Sure.
Even then, menstruating women were barred from participating in really key economic activities. They couldn't be involved in making wine.
Wine. The whole industry.
The whole industry. Or harvesting mushrooms, farming silkworms, even refining sugar.
Why? What was the thinking?
Because of this deeply rooted, completely irrational belief that their presence, their touch, would literally spoil these products.
Boil them, like magically.
Essentially, yeah. The idea was they could corrupt the whole batch just by being near it or handling it during their period.
Wow, that sounds, well, almost funny now, the idea of periods ruining wine. But back then, it was serious.
Deadly serious. It had real economic consequences for families, for communities, and it gets even more shocking when you see how these ideas were kind of legitimized. Our sources give an example from 1873. Now, this is the time when Pasteur's doing his work, germ theory is emerging.
Right, science is moving forward.
And yet, the British Medical Journal,
Prestigious medical journal.
the very same, published an article that explained that hams had been spoiled because menstruating women had cured them.
No way. The BMJ said that.
Yep. Hams spoiled because menstruating women touched them, so it wasn't just, folk tales in the countryside.
It had a stamp of medical authority, even if it was totally unscientific.
Exactly. It really shows how powerful cultural beliefs can be, how they can just steamroll early scientific observations, even common sense.
It really does. And for you listening, it's worth thinking about how these kinds of deep-seated pre-scientific beliefs must have just completely shaped everyday life.
Absolutely.
They dictated what women could do, where they could go, how people interacted. It's almost hard for us to grasp now. Women's lives were definitely constrained by these fears.
No question. It influenced their work, their social standing, even how they were seen in their own families. It paints this vivid picture of a world where, supernatural explanations were often the default, even quite late into what we think of as the modern era.
Exactly. And if you think this was just a European thing, well, think again.
Not at all.
Our sources, especially drawing on the incredible work of the anthropologist James George Frazer.
The Golden Bough, monumental work.
Monumental, yeah. He meticulously documented traditional beliefs and rituals all over the world. And he makes it crystal clear that this taboo around menstruation is widespread in traditional cultures globally.
It really seems to be almost a universal human response to the mystery and the power associated with blood.
And some of the examples Frazer collected are, frankly, extreme. They show a level of fear that goes way beyond just ritual impurity.
Yeah, they can be quite stark.
Take the Australian Aborigines, for instance.
Yeah.
Our sources share this really chilling story.
Okay.
An Aborigine found out his wife had laid on his blanket while she was menstruating.
Okay, what happened?
His reaction wasn't just anger. He killed her.
He killed her. Over a blanket.
Over the perceived contamination. But it gets worse. Within 15 days, he himself died.
He died. Why?
Died of terror. That's what the account says. Not illness, not accident. Sheer terror from the belief that he had been catastrophically contaminated by her state.
Died of terror. That shows the psychological power of the belief. It wasn't just symbolic.
Not at all. It suggests a fear so intense that the violation could literally kill not just the offender, but the victim of the contamination too. Lying on his blanket was seen as this ultimate spiritual breach.
Wow.
And the general prohibitions reflected this intense fear. Aboriginal women were forbidden under penalty of death from touching anything men used.
Penalty of death.
Or even walking on a path that men frequented. It wasn't just social distancing. It was about protecting men from a perceived spiritual danger that could be fatal.
That reveals such an extraordinary level of fear. Contamination seen as lethal, basically.
Yeah.
And used for social control, obviously, with the ultimate penalty.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's not just impurity. It's an existential threat transferred by touch or even proximity. Now, in Uganda, similar beliefs has slightly different practical outcomes.
Okay, how so?
Pots, for cooking or water, if they were touched by a woman considered defiled by the impurity of childbirth or menstruation, they had to be destroyed, completely smashed.
Okay.
But spears and shields, vital tools for hunting and warfare,
Yeah.
they were not destroyed, but only purified. That's interesting. Why the difference? Destroy the pots, purify the weapons.
It's a fascinating distinction, isn't it? Maybe it's about how the impurity is seen, or maybe something more practical.
Like maybe pots, because they hold food and water for everyone, were seen as more easily, soaking up the impurity.
That's one interpretation the sources suggest, yeah. Like, domestic items were more porous to this contamination, making them totally unusable.
Okay.
Whereas weapons, tools of power, may be seen as inherently tougher or maybe just too valuable to destroy.
Right, you can't just throw away your spear every time.
Exactly. So maybe they had a different, perhaps more powerful purification ritual for those vital items. It suggests a kind of utilitarian logic creeping into the belief system, a pragmatic adaptation.
Adapting the rules based on the object's value or function. Makes sense.
Yeah.
But the most detailed and maybe the starkest examples of this fear often come from North American indigenous tribes.
Oh, absolutely. Among the Dean people and many other American tribes, our sources describe an incredible level of dread caused by a menstruating woman, almost unmatched by anything else.
Dread, that's a strong word.
It is, and the rules for young girls experiencing their first period are incredibly detailed. They really show the societal response to this perceived, potent, maybe perilous force.
How so?
As soon as a girl showed the first signs, she was immediately and scrupulously separated from all company except women.
Total separation from men and boys.
Total. She had to live alone in a small hut, out of sight of villagers or male members of the traveling band. Complete isolation and concealment.
Wow. What else?
While she was in this, quote, dreadful state, she couldn't touch anything belonging to a man. Again, the fear of transferring danger.
Okay.
Her diet was super restricted, almost ritualistic. Dried fish was her food, and cold water was her only drink.
Dried fish and cold water.
And get this. She had to drink the water absorbed through a drinking tube.
A drinking tube? Why?
Presumably to avoid her lips touching the water source or any shared cup to prevent contamination of the water itself.
The level of detail is incredible.
It is. And then there's the concealment aspect for safety. As her mere sight was dangerous to society, she had to wear a special skin cap with fringes falling over her face to her chest.
A veil, basically.
Exactly. It hid her from public view, and she had to wear it even for some time after she was considered back to her normal state.
So the danger wasn't just physical contact, it was literally seeing her.
That seems to be the implication. The perceived threat wasn't just physical contamination. It was like a spiritual or energetic danger radiating from her, potentially harming the whole community, causing illness, bad hunting, maybe worse.
The amount of effort put into these restrictions, the ingenuity, as you said, in adapting to this fear. It's remarkable.
It really is. It created this elaborate system of protection and containment based on that core belief.
Yeah, but also the severity of the impact on the individual. I mean, that level of isolation, especially for a young girl going through puberty.
It must have been incredibly intense psychologically. Even if it was framed as protecting the group, it deeply shaped her experience and embedded these ideas about ritual and roles from a very young age.
For sure. Let's look at one more quick example of this global pattern. This one's from the 𝗂𝗂𝗃 people in the Talamanca region, Costa Rica, Panama area.
Right.
Here, too, a menstruating woman is considered impure. The rules might seem a bit simpler on the surface, but the underlying belief is just as potent.
How do they handle it?
Well, for eating, the only dishes she can use are banana leaves.
Okay, disposable. Makes sense.
But it's why they have to be disposed of carefully.
Yeah.
She has to discard them in a well-hidden place, because if a cow found and ate them, the animal would waste away.
A cow would waste away from eating the leaf.
That's the belief. The fear of indirect contamination harming their vital livestock.
Wow. Extending it to animals.
And drinking, too.
Oh.
She drinks from a special cup for a similar reason.
Let me guess.
Since if anyone drank from the same cup after her, they would surely die.
Die. Not just get sick, but die.
Yeah. A direct, lethal consequence believed to be transferred through a shared object.
What's really striking across all these examples is that persistent fear of indirect contamination.
Totally.
And the belief that misfortune, illness, even death can be transferred through objects, through sight, through proximity. These beliefs, however strange they seem to us now, they acted as incredibly powerful ways to control social behavior. They dictated interactions at the most basic level, all aimed at protecting the community from what they saw as a very real, potentially deadly supernatural threat. It really shows the power of story, of narrative, and shaping everyday reality.
Absolutely. The sheer variety, from the mikveh rituals to the isolation huts, it just highlights how humans everywhere seem to have imbued blood with this profound meaning. Sacred, dangerous, powerful. It always demands careful handling.
That's a great transition, actually. We've seen how menstruation, an internal process, carried such weight.
Right.
So what about blood itself, the actual substance, especially when it comes to consuming it? This brings us to our second major taboo, the sacredness and prohibition against eating blood.
Yeah, this is another huge one. And it's not just about what's on the menu. It gets right to the heart of beliefs about life, death, and the soul itself.
Exactly. And the core prohibition, again, we find it deeply rooted in ancient texts. Genesis 9.4 is a key starting point. It says, "You must not eat meat with its lifeblood still in it."
Given to Noah, right, after the flood.
Precisely. It signals this initial reverence for blood, setting it apart as sacred right from what's considered the beginning in that narrative.
And then Leviticus really hammers it home. Leviticus 17.11 says, "For the life of a creature is in the blood."
Direct and clear, blood equals life.
But it's Leviticus 17.14 that spells out the consequence, the gravity of breaking this taboo. It says, "For the life of every creature is its blood. That is why I have said to the Israelites, you must not eat the blood of any creature, because the life of every creature is its blood. Anyone who eats it must be cut off."
Cut off. That's serious. It's not a slap on the wrist.
No. It implies being excluded from the community, possibly divine punishment, even premature death.
And the theological underpinning here is absolutely key. The profound Hebrew belief that the soul was identical to blood or inseparably linked with it.
Soul equals blood.
Or is carried within it, inseparable from it. So blood isn't just a fluid, it's the essence of life, the animating principle, the very seat of the soul.
Which means eating blood.
It's seen as consuming the soul itself, a major spiritual violation.
And what's really interesting is how universal this is meant to be, according to the tradition.
Right.
Our sources stress that in Jewish law, this command to Noah wasn't just for the Israelites. It, quote, extends to all humanity, to Noah and all his descendants.
So framed as a rule for everyone, right from the start of their story.
Exactly. A foundational command for all humankind, making it a universal moral and spiritual law in their view.
And you really see the practical outworking of this in kashrut, the Jewish dietary laws.
Yeah, the kosher rules.
To ensure they follow this profound rule, all meat must be drained of its blood. There's a whole process, kashering.
How does that work?
Well, after the animal is slaughtered in a specific way, the meat is salted to remove its juices. It's a meticulous process. They cover it in coarse salt, let it sit to draw out any remaining blood, then rinse it off.
So a lot of effort goes into getting rid of every last drop.
Absolutely. It embodies that deep reverence for the life contained within the blood. And it goes beyond just meat even. Eggs with a drop of blood are forbidden for consumption.
A tiny blood spot in an egg.
Yep. Because that spot represents potential life or the remnant of it. It's considered sacred and shouldn't be consumed.
Wow. This paints a picture of a worldview that places such incredible value, such sacredness on life and its very essence. Blood isn't just part of the meat, it's fundamentally different.
Exactly.
And for you listening, it makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
How does a belief like that change your relationship with food, with eating? It's not just about fuel, it's a spiritual act with every meal. Like acknowledging the sanctity of the life that was taken.
It turns eating into a constant ritual of respect.
Definitely. Now, what about other explanations? You mentioned animistic beliefs earlier.
Right. If we look beyond the biblical framework, many cultures had related ideas rooted in animism, the belief that spirits inhabit, well, everything.
Okay.
Here, the core idea is that blood is the soul of the animal, literal identity.
Okay. Similar, but maybe even more direct.
And here's the kicker. Whoever ingests the animal ingests its blood and its soul with it. It's believed to be a literal transfer.
So you eat the steak, you get the cow's soul.
That's the belief, essentially. The animal's essence, maybe even its consciousness, moves into the consumer.
And the fear that comes with that.
Yeah.
It must be intense.
Oh, palpable. A really visceral terror that the consumed soul can take possession of the body of the person who consumes it and take revenge on them for having been killed and ingested.
Revenge from beyond the grave.
Yeah.
Inside you. That's quite a deterrent from eating blood, isn't it?
Absolutely. The fear of the victim's spirit haunting you, maybe controlling you from within, it's spiritual usurpation.
And this ties into sacrifices.
Exactly. This deep fear of post-mortem revenge from the victim is, according to our sources, the basis of all ritual sacrifices in many, many cultures.
So sacrifice isn't just giving thanks.
It can be, but often it's also profoundly transactional, like a spiritual insurance policy.
How so?
The god, king, or ancestor to whom the sacrifice is made protects the sacrificer from the victim's revenge by offering part of the animal, or maybe the first kill, to a higher power.
You're basically asking for protection.
You're deflecting the vengeful spirit, you're transferring the spiritual responsibility or appeasing the spirit through that powerful intermediary, the god, the ancestor.
Wow, like a cosmic protection racket almost.
Oh.
You pay your dues to the powers that be, and they keep the angry animal spirits off your back.
In a way, yeah. It raises big questions about how these belief systems shaped the whole human relationship with the natural world, doesn't it?
It really does. What does it mean if you constantly feel the need for divine protection from the very creatures you depend on for food?
It implies this ongoing kind of precarious balance. Humans need nature, but nature is also filled with these potent, potentially vengeful spiritual forces.
So every hunt, every meal is loaded with spiritual weight.
And potential danger. It underscores this sense of interconnectedness, but maybe a fearful one, where respecting the spirit of what you take is crucial for your own survival. It demands ritual, reverence, careful management.
And just like we saw with menstruation, this idea about not consuming blood, it pops up all over the place, doesn't it? It's not just one tradition.
Not at all. Fraser, again, provides these great ethnographic parallels that show how widespread these beliefs were.
Like where else?
Well, for example, he notes that some Estonians will not taste blood because they believe it contains the animal's soul, which would enter the body of the person who tastes it.
Exactly the same core idea. Soul in the blood, dangerous to eat, thousands of miles away.
Precisely. And similarly, some Native American tribes strictly abstain from eating the blood of any animal, believing that it contains the life and spirit of the beast.
Life and spirit. Again, the essence.
The language changes slightly, the specific rituals might differ, but that fundamental concept, blood as the vessel for the animal's life force, making its consumption spiritually risky, is remarkably consistent.
It really is fascinating, that consistency across such different cultures, different environments. It suggests something really deep in the human psyche, maybe.
Perhaps a primal attempt to understand, or maybe misunderstand, life, death, vitality, and where it goes. Grappling with the mystery of life leaving a body.
And you have to wonder how these widespread beliefs shaped early human societies, especially around hunting and just, getting food.
It could not shape them, right? It means getting calories wasn't just practical. It was navigating this spiritually charged world, full of potentially angry spirits. Every meal required following the rules, respecting the taboos.
It paints a picture of early humans developing these really elaborate belief systems, these rituals, partly as a way to make sense of it all. Maybe exert some feeling of control over a pretty unpredictable world.
Exactly. These taboos weren't just random rules people made up. Within their worldview, they were deeply rational responses. They were designed to protect people, protect the community from what they genuinely believed were real supernatural dangers, and to keep that delicate balance with the unseen forces of life and death.
Okay, so as we kind of wrap up this deep dive, let's just quickly recap the amazing journey we've taken.
Yeah, let's pull it together.
We've seen this really consistent, almost universal theme of blood taboos showing up across huge stretches of time and all sorts of different cultures.
Right, whether it's connected to menstruation and its perceived power.
Or about consuming blood itself, seeing it as the very essence of life, the soul.
And we highlighted that, maybe surprising point, about how long it took for scientific understanding, particularly in the West, to catch up or to challenge these deep-seated beliefs, especially around menstruation.
Yeah, the science was slow to arrive and even slower to change minds. It wasn't a quick fix.
No, these cultural narratives were incredibly strong, challenging what seemed like self-evident truths for centuries.
And through all these diverse examples, the detailed mikveh rituals, the extreme fear among Australian Aborigines, the rules about not eating blood, a common thread, the big takeaway, is this profound reverence, often mixed with real fear, for blood. Seeing it as the essence of life, the soul itself, potent, powerful, and therefore something needing careful ritual handling.
So so what for us today, for you listening? What do we take away from all this?
Good question.
Well, these historical anthropological insights give us a really interesting lens to look at our own culture, our own assumptions about human nature. How might these deeply ingrained, often pre-scientific beliefs still subtly influence us, even subconsciously? Think about modern ideas of purity, contamination, the sacred. Do they echo some of these older anxieties, even if we don't explicitly link them to blood anymore?
That's interesting, like hidden cultural baggage.
Maybe. It certainly shows the incredible power of cultural stories, of fear, and also of awe in shaping how humans behave and how we structure our societies.
Yeah, these weren't just quirky old customs. They were like foundational pillars for social order. They influenced everything from marriage
Right down to economics.
to economics to survival strategies. They provided structure, meaning in a world that often felt chaotic and mysterious.
They absolutely did. And it makes us think about how our modern understanding, biology, health, science, has obviously changed our relationship with these ancient fears quite dramatically.
We don't worry about hams being spoiled by periods anymore, generally.
Generally not, no. Or about cow souls taking revenge if we eat rare steak. At least not consciously in mainstream thought.
But, and this is maybe the final provocative thought to leave everyone with,
Okay.
what hidden taboos might still exist in our own culture today? Things we haven't really unpacked scientifically or culturally yet.
Good one.
Are there deeply ingrained beliefs, unexamined fears that are still quietly shaping our behavior, our social norms, maybe even what we choose to eat or avoid in ways we haven't fully clocked?
Like modern superstitions wearing rational clothes.
Exactly. Things that maybe a future anthropologist will look back on with the same kind of curiosity we've brought to these blood taboos today.
That's a profound thought to mull over. It really makes you look at the present differently. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into such a fascinating topic.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Until next time, keep digging, keep questioning, and keep exploring the incredible depths of human history and culture.